At the beginning of last month, I was out of the country, and despite trying to unplug from the news a bit, I kept getting notifications of a story breaking back home. Given the amount of coverage, I assumed that some huge tragedy with mass casualties had occurred. But I was surprised to find that the story basically amounted to a missing, presumed dead individual by the name of Jennifer Dulos, with her ex-husband and father of her 5 children being a key suspect. Now don't get me wrong, this is a tragic situation. I hope that Jennifer Dulos is discovered alive, and I hope that all turns out as well as possible for the family. But every few years it seems that a crime-related story captures the public's attention and commands a disproportionate and at times ridiculous amount of coverage in the media. I mean, did WFSB really need to post this video of the accused taking a morning jog?
Do you have any comment?
Wow, quality reporting. But rather than sit here and judge, I wanted to find out why it is that people are fascinated with this and other infamous crime stories.
I've been following it every day. A couple times a day I look to see if there's anything new posted. Because what brought me more interested in the case is when I found out what their divorce was like, and that in a couple instances he showed that he had anger issues, and part of their divorce reminded me of my leaving my ex-husband.
That's Lynn Hennessy Flynn, a resident of Naugatuck. I got in contact with her through a Facebook group dedicated to discussing the Jennifer Dulos case. The group has nearly 10,000 members. She told me that following the case was cathartic for her after surviving the abuse of her ex-husband.
I think there's a lot of domestic violence cases, and I think that it captures all of us who have been abused. And it tugs. It brings up memories, as it did with me, and feelings. It was helpful. It is helpful to me because it's helping me address some of the feelings that I hid. And this case brought them up again, the ones that I forgot about and buried. So for me, it's helpful.
And she's not the only one. In the aforementioned Facebook group, I can anecdotally report that most users appear to identify as women, and a 2010 study found that women are more likely than men to consume media focused on true crime stories. Amanda Vicary, an associate professor of psychology at Illinois Western University, told the Huffington Post, by learning about murders, who is more likely to be a murderer, how do these crimes happen, who are the victims, etc., people are also learning about ways to prevent becoming a victim themselves. Melissa, who asked us not to use her last name, is also a member of that Facebook group, and she agrees.
A lot of women can relate to this because they have been in abusive relationships before, and that's very common, unfortunately. So these women can relate to this case in the sense that he's controlling, the things that she wrote about him being volatile, things like that. People can relate to, especially females. Unfortunately, men also are abused as well, but more females than men.
This can be a good thing, especially for vulnerable populations, but there is a dark side as well. These sort of famous crime cases can give the perception that violent crimes are becoming more common, but in fact, the United States is experiencing record lows in crime. Take a look at this graph from Gallup, and you see a huge contrast between the perception of crime and the reality. And let's be honest, the popular appeal of the Dulos case goes beyond self-preservation or politics. It's entertainment.
I am a crime fan, yes. Casey Anthony, just all of those, like you said, John Benet Ramsey, cases like that. I do love the criminal shows as well. So those things are interesting to me, and I think it's important because to see that people are held accountable for their actions, because those are things that are not okay. Like when you're harming people, hurting them, killing them, you need to be held accountable for it, put in jail. We don't need people like that roaming the streets.
So is what draws you to it the sense of justice?
Yes, and it is also interesting to see how people can do and act that way when it just seems so shocking, to people that would never do such a thing or could never dream of doing something like that to somebody.
At this point, you may be expecting me to finger wag and condemn this sort of entertainment as a dark form of voyeurism. And certainly, with real cases such as this, one should be conscious of the real-world victims and their loved ones. There's a lot of writing about why people enjoy this sort of dark entertainment, but I think the phenomenon makes sense. Murder and violence are taboo topics, as of course they should be, but this means that there's a certain allure to many people. The vast majority of them won't ever do anything violent themselves, I hope, but its forbidden nature spurs curiosity.
People watch soap operas. People watch crime, that crime show, and they're into that, and they follow every one of those. So it's entertainment in a sick way and in a sad way.
I think it is a part of the news. I think that's how, it always has been. It always, with the way people are, they're so interested. They form their own opinions, their own thoughts. Some people already decide that they're guilty when they're not. And it's all personal opinion, really.
Personally, I'm not really a fan of following these publicized court cases. There's little to no political salience, and the reporting is generally over-sensationalized. But as a fan of video game series Grand Theft Auto, shows like Neon Genesis Evangelion, and Quentin Tarantino films, I can understand wanting to explore the taboo of violence in media. And if following cases like these can help people deal with their own traumas, then that's a good thing to be sure. As long as people keep in mind the big picture and do not become obsessive, experts seem to say there's nothing psychologically problematic about it, and those I spoke with seem to agree.
I don't know if there's a right and wrong in following it. I just don't think you should troll it to a certain extent or make fun of either participant, really.
I have an opinion, and that's what it is. It is an opinion, but at the same time, we don't have the facts. And whether it's good or bad, I don't know. It is important to know the facts. I do believe that.